Dude, pick up the phone. You're on TV. My brothers keep sending me all these clips of you. I'm actually watching one right now. What is on your head? And your arms? Do you even work out?
Steven, what was the first thing that you thought when you saw me on the TV last night?
I was looking at your fabulous farmer's tan.
That's what you were looking at?
That was the first thing I noticed.
First thing I saw. So I don't know what's happening. Like, I'm here in the outfield, minding my own business, setting up my 4x5, looking for the pictures.
That was all the way in the outfield, huh?
Yeah, I was out in left field, and people, just unaware, just doing my own thing. And all of a sudden, my phone starts vibrating nonstop, and it's you texting me that your brother sent you something. It's my bowling team people saying there's a picture of me here. I didn't know what was going on, and the other camera guy in between innings was just like, he's like mouthing to me, like, I'm like, oh, you're gonna put me on camera? Oh, you want to? I'm like, yeah, that's cool. You can put me on camera.
Oh, so you knew ahead of time you were going to be on camera?
No, he already did put me on camera. He was just letting me know that they put me on. They already put me on.
Okay, after the fact.
So then I went over and he's like, yeah, they had you on, so on and so forth. And I didn't know what they said because I didn't get to hear what they said until after I got back from the game or when I got into the car because I was focused on shooting.
It would have been funny if you weren't focused on shooting. You were just like checking your phone or picking your nose or doing something that shouldn't be on live national broadcast TV.
Well, the thing that I noticed first and foremost were my arms. I was like,
of course.
They look sexy.
Wait, what did you say to me? You texted me. I texted you a video clip from my brothers, and you said, LOL, arms look sexy.
Exactly.
I said that farmer's tan looks sexier.
I don't care. My arms look great on the TV. My cousin texted me from Florida because he was watching the game.
Cool.
And that was fun.
Maybe it'll be a thing. Every week they'll try and find Fro. Where's Waldo? Where's the Fro?
I need to introduce myself again to Tommy.
Yeah.
He obviously didn't know my name. He tried, or he was going, like, you could be like, he wanted to say like my name, but he didn't know my name.
You photographed him before, right?
I did. I photographed him up in the broadcast booth. I've introduced myself, but I mean, I don't expect them to know me, especially John Kruk, who's the other commentator. But it was funny. They're like, what's that on his forehead? Is that a light? Is that a GoPro?
Thank God you weren't testing out like an NDA'd camera, a top secret camera or something.
No one would know.
That'll be the one time like you're actually on TV and you're trying out a brand new camera.
Shit, I was using the R1, guys, secretly inside of a 4x5.
But I think the whole point, obviously, that they put you on TV was the fact that you were shooting with this giant old-looking camera.
Yeah. No, it's cool. He said that I do great work, and they know that. What I will do, I will write him up a quick little synopsis of what I'm doing so he can have it for next time, so he can know what camera it is, how old it is,
Here's an
what
info
lens
sheet.
it is. Yeah, no, I'm going to give an info sheet because I expect usually it's the producers that are like quickly getting on the computer to find out information.
Sure, yeah.
Like, who is that? I also got, my buddy sent me I guess it was a thing of a tweet that someone sent to Tommy, and it was like, that's Frono's photo, blah, 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 and was trying to explain it.
We got some people text in on the text line, too.
Yeah?
Yeah. And if you guys haven't seen this video, I assume you put it up on Instagram or Facebook, right?
Yeah, it's on my Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on my Instagram, and anybody can go look at it because it's there, and you can hear what they say. So they're like, "What's on his forehead?" And then John Kruk's like, "What's he looking through?" And
look at this guy's small arms.
Hey, stop it! You stop it right now. So he put the loop up to so the thing I'm using is a loop, and the loop you put up to the back of the ground glass so that I can see focus, and I have to look into it.
You
look
like you're really trying hard too. You're like, yeah, look at me, I'm a film guy. You got that look.
That was just me focused on what I needed to do. So that was funny, and it was cool getting all those texts and being seen because, I like to be seen. I'm I'm humble like that. Yeah, no, I'm humble like that. I'm glad I was sleeveless. That's always the best.
Nice profile view too.
Yeah, my hair looked good. They always look for something interesting to put on TV. Usually it's just big. Back in the 80s, it was big boobs. That's what they
now
would do.
Big hair.
Like, in the 80s, it was like, oh, let's find the hot girls in the stands and zoom in on them because it was before social media. So that was the stuff that they used to do. Or maybe into the 90s and 2000s also. They would just leave a camera there, and especially when they're at commercial, they're like, check this out. And then they put on the flex cam the next inning, and I was hoping that I would be on camera again. But I wasn't on camera for the flex cam.
Damn.
Okay. Welcome to RAWtalk episode number 105, where we talk about whatever we want. We go off the rails and we talk about camera stuff. We are going to be talking about the new Sigma lenses, the new Canon lens, and the new Canon Cinema EOS camera, however you want to say it. We got something to say about Panasonic's GH7, which is not much. Talk about my bike ride. Next week, I'll probably be recording in Boston because I'm going up for the Phillies to shoot the old school stuff at a super old stadium,
Sweet.
Fenway Park. And I announced the first boot camp in over a decade 2 days ago.
Is that sold out?
There's one left.
Oh, okay.
So it's
by
sold
the time
out.
this goes out, it's probably sold out.
Yeah, and the good news is I didn't even send out an email.
Yeah.
I didn't even have to send out an email, which is good. So for those who don't know, I used to do boot camps where it would be 15, 20, 25, as many as 25 people, and we would go over photography. I would teach you the fundamentals, basics, and not just, it's not just for fundamentals and basics people. Like if you're an amateur, advanced amateur, you get access to me, you get access to being out on the locations with the shoots that we're doing. I will have different models here. We're going to be different sportsy stuff, low light stuff, just so we can cover a broad overview over an 8-hour period, which is a lot of time to go over whatever you need to go over, but also help you in the methodology that I have, which all stems down to the fundamentals and basics. Especially if you're shooting mirrorless, I'm going to help you be out of auto real easy and give you the tips that I know are going to help you become a better photographer. And that's the goal of all of this that I do, is to take the reliance off the auto stuff and help you just think like a photographer and then capture the world. Anyway, that's taking place. If there is still a ticket available, you can go to bit.ly/July 13th. So 13 THFRO. July 13th Fro. There as of recording this, there's one spot left.
And you said it's been 10 years since you've done it? I feel like it had to be longer because I've been with you for 11 years at this point, and I don't recall doing a boot camp.
And it's like 2013.
Yeah, it's 2024. I think it's been like 11 or 12 years.
I used to do them with Adam Lerner. We did them
you just stopped them right when I started with you.
Yeah, I don't know why I stopped. I mean, actually, you know what happened?
Well, it was that whole road trip.
Yeah, I tried to do the road trippy thing and announce it. It just didn't sell out. It just didn't sell certain places. Maybe I didn't promote well enough then, and it just gave me that feel.
You were
like
promoting the crap out of that. I remember that.
Well, we did some. We did New Orleans. We did San Francisco. I did London. I did Manchester. It was crazy overseas because honestly, I charged $500 back then, and their exchange rate was so cheap. Like, our money was worthless over there at the time.
Yeah.
So people were able to spend less money and come to the London boot camp.
Nice.
Which was pretty cool. So anyway, next week, probably be recording in Boston, like I said, because I'll be at a hotel room getting ready to photograph the games there with my 4x5 project, where I will run back into Tommy, and I don't think John Kruk will be there, and I'll explain to him what I'm doing.
Here's my 8-page info sheet.
I think they'll be pretty surprised to see me up there because it's an away game, and they're just getting back they just left for London last night because the Phillies are playing in London on Saturday and Sunday.
Very cool.
I didn't want to go to that.
I figured.
Yeah.
You're here.
So, but I wanted to go to Boston, and then I'm going to go down to Baltimore. So if you're in Boston, Austin, Massachusetts, or in Baltimore.
Boston, Texas.
Yeah. Or you'll be in Baltimore on Friday, Saturday of next week. I will be going to Camden Yards there.
So come look for me in my farmer's town.
Yeah. Maybe they'll put me on TV all over there, and I'll be on the ESPN.
Surprised they didn't bring up the shirt, because you could still see it said I Shoot Raw.
Well, the shirt, the hair, the arms,
everything.
They didn't even mention anything. They probably
they
didn't
only
want
mention
to
the camera, really.
They probably didn't want to make fun of it.
I know.
By accident.
I wonder if they're like, I want to say so much, but I can't.
I can't do it. I want to talk shit on this guy.
This guy looks ridiculous, but I'm not going to say it.
Look at this guy. Who does he think he is? I am. One thing I want to touch base on. If you did donate to the bikeathon ride that I did, the American Cancer Society via YouTube. I chose not to push hard this year promoting that because I don't like asking people for money. I don't like asking for donations. No, I like asking for money when it comes to selling my own stuff, Steven.
Let's correct that.
It benefits me. Not saying that cancer research doesn't benefit
When
me.
I make money, I ask for money. But when other people make money...
No, because I'm actually giving something of value. Not saying that donating to cancer research isn't value.
Yeah, I was
but
gonna
our
say.
$4,000 or $5,000 isn't going to really put a dent in the world of research. But
Well, you hope multiple people's $14,000, $15,000, adding it all up, and hopefully it does something.
yeah, hopefully. But like the $32 million that our bikeathon has raised total in the 53 years is like a drop in the bucket when pharmaceutical companies or people like governments could actually spend more money and do stuff. I'm just not a big fan of donating. You know what's interesting, Steven? You know when you get to the counter at these places and they're like, would you like to donate, round your bill, round up to donate the change? And people... Well, people get all like, well, if I say no, they're going to think I'm a bad person. Do you know what I say,
They're
Steven?
not wrong.
No, it's bullshit.
I'm just saying most people are thinking that. I guarantee it. You?
They shouldn't.
Definitely not.
They shouldn't be so self-conscious.
You're probably
They should
having a
just-
whole conversation with the cashier explaining why it's bullshit.
I'm not. Well, it is bullshit. No, I will not round up and give you 84 cents.
While there's 20 people waiting in line.
I will not. No, I'll just say no.
Well, the good thing is now with online ordering, mobile ordering, you can now do it through the app and you don't have to face a human being this time.
Now, see, it's bullshit. Do you want to know why it's bullshit? Do you know why companies do it?
Tax
do you know
write-off.
why? Yeah, exactly.
All day. Yeah.
It's a tax write-off because you're feeling, forced or good for that 1 second that you have to make that decision to give 80 cents. They are literally adding it up throughout the year and getting millions of dollars in tax write-offs because they are making the donation.
It's the same thing with celebrities. Anyone with a ton of money, they're donating. It's because they're benefiting in the end with a tax write-off.
They go beyond donating. They start their own
Foundations,
nonprofit or foundation,
Yep.
which means what? So what happens with foundations is you start a foundation and you can fund the foundation, but then someone needs to run the foundation and they get paid to run the foundation.
And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but at the same time, the only reason they're doing it is for selfish reasons because it benefits them in the end. I do think there are great people out there that do it for non-selfish reasons, but I think majority of those rich 1% people are definitely doing it for themselves.
Mackenzie Scott Bezos. No, Mackenzie Bezos Scott. That's how it goes. Now she
got half his money, right?
She didn't get half. She got billions. Now she got like 26 or 30 some or 60 billion she got a lot. But what she has done is incredible. She just gives money. Like she doesn't give like small donations. She's like, here's $200 million. I want you to give millions to this, and this. And then she doubled it because there were more worthy causes that came along. What happens is the Bezos Scott Foundation will call one of these nonprofits or charities, and they'll be like, give us your wire information. They've already done all their research into them, and then they will give them the wire information, and then like $15 million shows up. She is changing the way that philanthropy is being done. It's not like I'm going to make $100 million donation for over the next 10 years. It's like I'm going to give $2 billion away this year because, and the money that she has sitting in, Amazon stock continues to go up in value. So she could spend $2 billion, but make $2 billion the next week.
She has a current net worth of $33.5 billion. Imagine being part of that. 2024 it says. Imagine being part of that 3 comma club, but you have 33 billion, not just 1 billion, 30 to the point where you're giving away billions of dollars and it doesn't even matter.
No, it doesn't even matter.
It's insane.
But speaking of 3 comma club, I mean, come on, Silicon Valley is it almost worth another watch?
Yeah, it's solid.
I should ask the IT guy here that's right here right now if he knows what that is on the board downstairs. MJT? We put that in a video. If you've ever seen Silicon Valley, the greatest scene ever is, I think it's season 1, the end, when they're trying to figure out the mean jerk time.
We've talked about this before.
I know, but it's still on the board down there, and I show it to everybody. I think it's funny. So anyway.
What was the alcohol? He made his own brand of like bourbon.
3 commas,
it was
right?
3 commas,
Wasn't
right?
it 3 commas?
I think it was.
Or three whatever. It may have been in Spanish.
Trace commas or something.
Trace logos.
Something.
Something like that. Trace amigos or Trace whatever. Oh God, that is so good. That show.
Russ Hanneman was his name. Trace Comas.
Google who is Russ Hanneman based off of? I don't know if it's Mark Cuban or who it was based off of.
Some playboy, billionaire. I don't know.
Anyway, the moral of the story is don't donate money to anybody but yourself. That's what I have to say about that, Stephen. That's it's not true. I mean, if you're going to donate directly so that you can get the tax benefit. Don't make a donation so that the big conglomerates can get tax write-offs and use you. And don't feel bad. Like, you're not a bad person because you don't want to donate $1 to some starving fucking kid. Nonetheless, I rode 67 miles on my bike from the Ben Franklin Bridge, which is the bridge to the beach. So we went 67 miles to Atlantic City, and I did it in 4 hours. And I didn't do the 100. I had no desire to do the 100 like I did last year. I probably am getting better. If I was with a good team, I could. And I'm not saying my team wasn't good. I'm saying a stronger team I'm not a strong rider. I mean, I was strong in the little group that I had. I did a lot of the pulling, meaning I was in front, and then, they could use my wake because of my hair behind me and save energy.
That's funny. Does your hair actually help?
Well, what happens, it's your body. I mean, what happens is if you're the lead person and you're pulling, you're using twice as much force to cut through the air than the people are behind you, because you're creating a vortex,
Sure.
like an open air area of
The flying
air.
V.
The flying
Ducks.
V, basically. So if you have 2, 3, 4 people behind you, they're pedaling at half the watts that you are.
Yeah.
So what happens is, as you get tired, you move off to the left and go to the back of the line, and the next person comes up, and you just keep hammering at these fast speeds. So if you're pulling at 22, 23 miles an hour in the front and using energy, the people behind you barely feel like they're pedaling. Anyway, we were coming up to the finish line, my buddy and I, and we were finishing 67. We get passed by this group of real good riders, and they get to the end, and I was like, how did you guys just do 100? They just did 100 in under 4 hours.
Wow.
So they finished before us doing 100. And there were we're talking 50-year-old guys, older, upper 50s in there, and there were some younger people. They were so strong.
Put that into perspective. Like, how long did it take you to do your 100 last year?
5 hours, 59 minutes, and 6 seconds.
Wow, and they did it in 4 hours. So they're literally pedaling at twice the speed.
They averaged 22.5 miles an hour for 100 miles.
Nonstop.
So that means they hit sometimes 27 miles an hour in a line and just stayed at 27 miles an hour. Other times, a little lower. I averaged 17.5 for 67 miles.
Wow.
So that's still good, but it's not like these guys are just
27.
better. No, they're just better.
They're
just better. Now let's move on to the Bryce Harper 4x5 shoot. Now, I've been trying to coordinate with Bryce for the last couple of months, like the last 2 months, to find a time to come in early, get out on the field, and get him some old style portraits. The cool thing is we've got some of him and I talking, which is captured on the camera that was on my forehead, of trying to set it up. The time happened where
Setting it up, by the way, is this simply just talking directly to him or approaching an agent or...
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't go through PR. I just asked him on the field.
I don't know what the proper etiquette is. I don't know is it okay for a press photographer to go to a player directly while batting practice is going on and talk to them? Or is that a no-go?
I wait till they're walking off and I ask. But the thing is, you have to remember, I have a press pass. This is what I'm able to do, and that's what one of the Major League Baseball photographers reminded me of. He's like, if you can ask these guys for photos. That's what you're here for.
Okay, cool.
And so
I didn't know if it was like traditional media where you need to set up an interview first and that kind of thing. It's not like you can just go up to a player and be like, hey, let's chat real quick.
I do want to say I saw a reporter do something I wasn't happy about.
What'd they do?
It was a female reporter. And the reason I bring up female versus male is because what she did was step out in front of a player who was coming to the dugout. Now, usually they don't want to be bothered. Not that they usually don't want to be bothered, but you usually stand off to the side and you say, hey, do you have a minute to do an interview?
Sure.
She literally stepped into his path to block his way, to make him stop, to then say, no, I don't have time today. Could you imagine a male reporter stepping in front of a female reporter and blocking their way? It's just there's that double standard, and she should never have done it to a male player. She shouldn't have stepped out in front of the guy.
Well, nobody should do that.
No, I would never. If a female is even a male, like I don't care, even an other, if they were walking my way, I wouldn't step in front of them to block them. That is aggressive, and you don't do that. I saw her do that, and I was just like, the first thing that went through my head is like, if a male did that to a female, there would be a problem. They would be like, you are blocking me, and that's harassment. Sure. So anyway, I just thought I would bring that up. So that's not how I operate out there.
So you got in front of Bryce, and you're like, stop right now.
Like, stop
I'm
what you're doing.
Picture.
I've got my guns. No, so the first time I talked to Bryce, I was like, he was head down in his own world, and I'm
As
like,
he usually is, right?
Yeah. And this was after infield. He doesn't take batting practice out on the field. He does that underneath the stadium. So he was taking infield, and he's walking by, and I'm like, hey, Bryce, I'm like, would you have some time?
He's like, please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me.
No, he's like, yeah. No, but his demeanor changed as soon as I engaged with him.
Sure.
Like he went from totally focused to then engaged in the conversation. Cool. And I was like, would you be cool to get a 1940s style baseball portrait? That was what I came up with to talk to these players about. Like they see the old camera, they see me around, and I'm like, yeah, it would be great to do this. He's like, can I wear my jersey? You're like, can I wear full uniform? Yeah. I was like, absolutely.
Just don't wear that trash uniform that they wear on Fridays, the Philly uniform.
Correct. Yeah, the Philly City Connect.
Yeah.
But I asked him. He's like, yeah, can we do some maybe like old Babe Ruth style type stuff?
Very cool.
So we got it scheduled. Then I got a text the night before that he had prior obligations, but it was awesome that I got a text before from the PR people that, he needed to postpone, and he'll try to make it up for me in the next go around. So I went last Friday knowing that they had the City Connect unis on, and I wasn't going to get great photos, or my plan wasn't even to stay for the game. My only goal of going out to the field early was to try and be able to talk to Bryce to reset up a time to photograph. Mm-hmm. And so what people don't understand is like they see the photo that I posted on Instagram, and you'll see the comments, and you see it with all the things. I could have done that, right? People that are always like, I could have taken that. And the truth of the matter is you can't, you couldn't, you didn't, right? It always comes back to, well, you didn't. And there's so much more that goes into photography and creativity than just snapping that one picture. There's the whole lead up, putting myself out there early, taking my time to go there to be seen.
The weeks of preparation, the weeks of just trying to get access to Bryce, of trying to just simply ask him, is it okay if we do this shoot? And then scheduling it.
And before that, starting the season using a camera I've never used before, not knowing if this project was going to work, but making prints, giving them to the players so that it does filter around. Yep. And it filters around the dressing room and the locker room. Sorry, the locker room. It's not a dressing room. The locker room, so that everybody knows who you are and what you're doing. They see the results, so that means that they're more likely to say yes. So Bryce was like, yeah, can we do that? Let's do tomorrow. We're wearing pinstripes tomorrow. And so I knew that the light was going to be really bad, but I couldn't do Sunday because of my ride. So anyway, he tells me like 2:30, meet him on the field. I get there at 1.
And keep in mind, this was a sunny, zero cloud day, right?
Zero clouds. Yeah. Zero clouds. 2:30 was when we were going to shoot. I got out the sun app to see where the sun was going to be.
Pretty much directly above.
Directly above, the harshest light you could ever ask for, and hot. So I'm there early.
And there's no shady spots really in that stadium, right?
Just the dugout. Just the dugout,
yeah.
So I'm in the dugout, and I'm waiting, and because he's going to come out at 2:30. That's when he said. And I'm like, I don't know. What am I going to do? How do I do this? How do I meet her? How do I get the right? I know that he wants to get these pictures full body, like leaning on his bat on the on deck circle. And then I'm like, that's going to be so bad. The lighting is really bad right now for that. I'm like, what do I tell him?
And meanwhile, Sunday's forecast looked great. It was kind of like overcast, perfect for photos. Let's just say
it ended up being a little sunny at 2:30 though. It did end up being a little
But at that time, you thought Sunday was going to be a better day.
At that time.
So you were kind of thinking of maybe rescheduling at that point, correct?
Or taking a couple and then figuring out if he could come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Which I know some people were like, yo, you got to make it happen no matter what. And I'm like, part of the issue is I don't want to take garbage photos and then hand it to him and be like, oh, these are terrible.
He'll get every time, yeah.
So 2:30, he comes right out. 2:30, he comes out of the locker room, walks by. I hit record on my cameras, and I'm like, hey, I'm just going to record this if that's okay. Record the shoot. He's cool with that. So I had the 360 camera. I had the Go 3 on my forehead.
And he's just by himself? No one else
just by himself.
Wow.
He's in full uni. He's got his wristbands on. He's got his cleats on. He's got his bat. He's got his glove. He's prepared. He's a professional. On time, ready to go. First things first, I explained to him, as soon as I'm focused, you can't move. And I explained why.
Do not breathe.
I'm like, here's what I'd like to do. I want to put you right here on the bench, hold the bat up, and you can look at this photo. It's on my Instagram, guys. You can check it out, how it turned out. But I sat him in a specific position because I liked having the bat rack there. I liked having something to interrupt to create dimension. I didn't want to just have a clear shot of him sitting on the bench, but I wanted dimension. I chose to go horizontal, fill the frame from the bottom of the hands to the top of the bat with leading lines leading out of the dugout, so you have the whole left-hand side. I just felt that felt right to me in the moment. And he's in the shade in the dugout. You can see the line of where the sun is. It's kind of insane. Get the focus set, crank the camera 4 times to get to 1/500th of a second. I was at like 2.7-ish as a guess, almost wide open fully. Focus was locked. Boom, took the one shot. I did a second vertical shot, and then we were going to try and do some others, but just with his hat, it's going to create complete darkness in his face.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this is the harshest light, very difficult situation. I don't, these photos won't be great out there. He's like, I could come back tomorrow if that's cool. If you want. I was like, yeah, let's do that. Ended up getting canceled, unfortunately, or postponed, but I still got that text. I wasn't upset at all because I went home and processed the negative and was really happy with the results.
I think the issue is with him, he's such a busy guy. He says yes most of the time and then realizes after the fact, I have a full schedule the next day or whenever you guys
the team. The team.
Sure.
He might have something to sign.
Exactly.
He might need to do an
interview.
There's
a million things going on, and it's very hard to get those 5 minutes with him.
Yep.
So you have to really take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Even if it's a terrible lighting day, you just have to deal with it for that day because you might not get that opportunity again.
But the dugout stuff was beautiful.
And you talking about keyboard warriors on Instagram and Facebook, like saying they could have done that, blah blah blah.
There was a lot of positives.
Sure, yeah. I think the issue though with you posting photos is that you're so harsh on people critique wise that people tend to feel the same way about, like they feel like, oh, this is my chance to finally say something about him, about his work, but that's why I think you get a lot of harsh comments.
Primarily positive. It's just that some of those negative ones stand out. And I just wanted to point out the fact that so much goes into getting into that position.
Yes.
In order to get there. It's the preparation of your entire career leads you to these places to be successful. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't nervous for the shoot. I was anxious because of the lighting and I didn't want to mess up. But when it was go time, I did take the couple extra seconds to make sure that not my focus, to get the composition exactly right. And his look is just perfect. He knows what he's doing. He held the bat perfectly. You can read the Victus on the bat. You can see his signature on the bat.
I assumed you directed him that way.
No.
To hold the bat that way so you can see Bryce Harper.
We'll be putting the video out so that you guys can see the 2 minutes, the 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
Full BTS video.
Basically.
I might just let it run, man. That might be just a really cool fly on the wall type shoot. You know?
I mean, part of it. And then
see what actually happens.
Then you have me processing the negative.
Yep.
I tried to show him the print the next day. Unfortunately, he didn't come out for batting practice to take infield or anything. But I did show the photo to Nick Castellanos. He's like, "Has Bryce seen this?" I was like, "No." He's like, "Do you want me to take it back?" I'm like, "Sure." And I haven't. And so I've been trying to get to run into Bryce again to get some feedback.
I know after the shoot too, you were kind of second guessing your framing. Like you were like, should I have went tighter, vertical, showing like a crop of him vertically of like what it would look like on a Sports Illustrated cover. And I know you were kind of wishing you did that as well. But again, I think it came down to a time thing. And
no, I did. So the thing is, you show it to other sports photographers.
This is how I would have done it. Yeah.
And then they give you some thoughts on the entire thing, like, oh, well, that side, the left side is distracting. And to me, there's two different ways of thinking about it. I think from a photojournalistic standpoint, and these guys think from a news standpoint and what they could sell.
Yeah.
Right. But they would do everything tight, and to me that loses context. I like having the dugout and the out of focus area. Let me just say, when you look at a print, and a larger print at that, it just feels right the way it is horizontally.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, you would have kind of done it all. Your wides, your mediums, your tights, your details, like everything you always say.
Which is,
but
I want
again,
the tight
on a
headshot.
very limited timed scheduled shoot, you really only have one or two shots, especially when you're shooting film.
Yeah, yep. But next time, if there is another time, I want to do a tight headshot. It would have been good. See, the unknown things are you can't see your results until you process them. So you should probably shoot a little more just in case.
Sure. Just to have some safety net there. This comes back to that whole crop, no crop argument that we always have internally. Because I would crop after the fact. And I know you always say like you don't want to second guess your shoots. And I'm like, well, if I second guess my framing after the fact, I'm okay with cropping. It doesn't mean I'm second guessing during shooting. But if I see a better frame after the fact that I didn't think of on the location, on the spot, then I'm going to easily crop it after the fact. I know it's different with this shoot because it's 4x5 large format. You like that natural framing and everything. But for a normal shoot, this is where I would probably just pick, okay, I'm going to crop after.
Yeah. But I did look at what an 8x10, not an 8x10, a 2-3 crop would look. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, it's a nice cover for like a Sports Illustrated back in the day. They could totally do that, right? Sports Illustrated crops everything.
But even if you shot this digitally, you would not crop it just based on the no cropping mentality.
I liked the horizontal feel of it personally because it adds character for me, it adds character of the dugout. That's what I personally like. Yeah. I don't like just a straight tight shot of him. Now, if I go tighter with a tighter headshot, that I will do in the future, will be good. I may get him out on the field doing like getting into the ready position. So it kind of looks like an action shot, old school. We'll see what we can do. We got to set it up. They're obviously going away and I'm sure I'll run into him in Boston or in Baltimore.
The nice thing now too is that he knows this only takes a few minutes. It won't take 45 minutes to an hour to do a normal photo shoot. So I think now going through it with you, he'll be up for it next time pretty quickly, hopefully.
Yeah. But he was really amenable to the whole process anyway.
Yeah.
He was
awesome.
I
saw the footage. It looked good.
Super professional.
And he came up to you, right? Saying like, I think we need to do a photo shoot still. I owe you.
That Friday, I was standing waiting for him to come over, and and we have the footage of it because I recorded it. He came over and he's like, "All right, we need to get this set up."
Very cool.
And so, you just some of the things you need to do are just show up. You may not even take any pictures in the day. I took no pictures that Friday, but I didn't need to because all I was there trying to accomplish was getting the FaceTime that I needed. If I didn't show up on that Friday, that Saturday, that Sunday, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I then have no opportunity. So you have to take that shot, the risk to show up. Sometimes it pays off. Other times it doesn't. You just have to be present and do the groundwork and do the legwork to make stuff happen. That's what it's all about. It just doesn't happen out of nowhere.
Do you think it would be easier to schedule something through the proper channels next time?
Absolutely not. Every time I try going through proper channels, I mean, this happened up recently with a shoot that's coming up. I gave a heads up to the photography team that I'd be coming out to shoot, and I get a message back from the media relations comms people going, "Oh, you can't do that, blah blah blah. We don't approve passes for non-traditional media, which is the thing that pisses me off the most.
The worst.
When I have a larger following than most publications today. But then I nicely replied back, "Oh no, I'm not sure you understand. I actually have a credential. I'm not asking for a credential. I was just giving you a heads up that I'm coming to do this. And from that point on, I'm no longer asking. I'm just showing up because I can."
It's unfortunate that they nip it in the bud so early without even, I'm sure if you asked about Bryce photographing him, they'd be like, no, instantly, without even asking Bryce if he wanted to do that.
Well, we know that from music in the past.
That's
like going back 20 years.
I will say there has been times that I've directly. I remember we were interviewing Linkin Park, so they were doing this behind the scenes fan club interview, kind of this roundtable discussion where they would just chat with their fans for 15, 20 minutes about whatever, and we were there to film. And immediately the PR guy was like, no filming, no nothing. And I went to Chester and I'm like, hey man, can I record this conversation? He's like, yeah, no problem. And only because I directly asked the band member, were we allowed to film and record that entire session. I was told after that I should never do that again, but
I do it every time.
Ignorance is bliss. I didn't know any better. I was new to the radio station.
The same thing happened with the Foo Fighters. Remember when I got backstage and was shooting the Foo Fighters?
Yeah.
These pictures are going to be in the next photo book. I was told by management that there's no way possible to be backstage. They don't do that. It's closed. No one can get access. I was working with Chris Shiflett because he was getting a new Fender guitar and needed pictures of it.
For Foo Fighters.
So yeah, Chris Shiflett's a founding member of the band. Well, I know Dave is the founding member, but it was always Dave.
Dave's band.
He recorded all of it, but Chris Shiflett has been in the band since as early as possible.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey Chris, I'm like, is it possible to come backstage, get some candids with you before the show with your guitar, blah 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 blah. Email back, hey, we'll leave you an all-access pass. Just come on back when you get here.
And you didn't have to sign anything, did you?
I think I signed the live
standard
contract. The contract
release?
that says I will not sell these images.
Sure.
But
there was no
they will only
specific-
be used for the specific use that they're for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I got yelled at. I got a phone call from their management yelling at me. And he's like, you'll never do this again. I'm like, dude, I already did it. I'm like, why are you yelling at me?
You got
because
yelled
I
at.
got access?
Was it because you posted a photo after the fact, or was it just because you were backstage?
No, what happened is someone in the crowd who follows me took a picture of me taking pictures of the Foo Fighters and posted it. And they yelled at me because one of my followers posted a photo of me taking a photo. I'm like, dude, I didn't take that photo.
Yeah.
I didn't post that photo.
It's like the Olympus trip all over again.
I was just like, I didn't, like, that's a picture of me. Why are you yelling at me? And the crazy thing was, of course, backstage wasn't closed off. Some of the crew people brought people in to listen to the sound check.
Of course.
And so it was just like, fuck you, management guy. I don't care that you worked with Nirvana. I don't care.
Nirvana?
Yeah, that's why.
Isn't it crazy that Dave Grohl looks just like the drummer of Nirvana?
Yeah, no, he actually looks much different today than he did back then.
I know he does.
I did listen to his book on Spotify. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I have yet to. I got to listen to that. Yeah,
it's actually pretty good. I do recommend giving it a listen. Anyway, that's the Bryce Harper story. You could go check it out. Let's move on to some of the gear stuff. Let's start with the Sigma 28-45 lens, Steven.
Yes, the world's first full-frame f1.8 zoom lens that they're claiming. It's the full-frame version, basically, of the Sigma 18-35, their 1.8 APS-C lens. However, that did have a different range. The equivalent on full-frame, that would have been like a 27-52. So that is the only issue with this lens. It is a limiting focal range for the most part, 28-45. I wish it was at least like a 24-50, like Sony did with their 2.8 zoom lens, or 28-70, like Canon did, pushed to an f2. But obviously, they didn't want to make it a giant, expensive lens like that 28-70 Canon f2. Now, This is essentially multiple primes in one, which is great. You get your 28, your 35, your 51.8 for the most part. And the fact that this is internal zooming is great for anyone doing gimbal work. The center of gravity is not really thrown off. You're zooming in and it's not any external zooming happening, so no weight is shifting. It is a chunker though. It's like 2.1 pounds or 950 grams.
It's a big in.
It's a big lens. 82 millimeter filter thread. Now, I will say it's not as big as the 28-70 because that thing's like a 95 millimeter filter thread. And at the end of the day, it's $1,349. That's really a killer price. And I've always said it, like if I had to start over from day one, I'd probably pick a Sony system because of awesome Sigma lenses like this. And it's an art lens.
It is. It's a little too short and not long enough.
That's the only issue. But I will take the 1.8 all day.
What I meant to say is it's not wide enough or long enough.
Yeah,
but
I know what you meant.
It does have the 1.8. It is sharp. It was colorful. It was nice, and it does replace. I was almost going to say, $2,000 plus worth of lenses, a 28. 35 and a 50, except for when I was doing the math, those were for 1.4s and these are 1.8s. But the trade-off is you have the zoom.
Yeah, Sigma only has 24, 35, and 50 1.4s. They don't even have like 1.8 primes. I will say again, for video work, I think this is great. However, I don't think it really replaces the standard zoom range. They're saying it kind of does, but a 28 to 45 is still fairly limiting. I'd rather take a 24 to 70. Even if it's an 2.8 or an f4, I'll take a 24 to 105 or a 24 to 120 on the Nikon system, which I think is such a great run and gun range for what we do. Obviously, for what other people do, it's different. But for chasing you around, I love that range.
How about shifting gears? But how about the cinema lens from Canon that's a 17 to 120?
Oh, yeah.
It's like 2 point something out to 90 millimeters, and then the aperture changes slightly, and then you realize it's a $28,000 or $27,000 lens, cinema lens. That is insane.
I remember Red, when they first came out, they had something crazy like an 18 to 200 T28 lens or something like that, and it was also like a $30,000 lens. I forget the exact focal length range, but it was quite a range, just like this 17 to 120. But the powered Cine Servo lenses, they are very, very expensive.
Yeah, 17 to 120, T 2.95 to like 3.9. Yeah. They just updated this is the new one that just came out, $23,850. That is a range.
That's the thing, is the cinema bodies, we'll get to the C400 soon, they're not that expensive when you compare them to the crazy glass that they sell.
No, and remember when I was in Kenya and we saw that photographer out in the wild, he was using a cinema Canon lens that was $70,000. And it's not even a fast, it's just a mega zoom.
Canon also does they have that Cine Servo 25 to 250 T295 zoom lens, and that's like
only 30,000.
$30K.
But I don't see,
only $30K.
But that's that's not updated yet for the newest of the new. Here it is. Canon Cine Servo 50 to 1000 T5 to T8.9 lens is $71,000. It's on sale. It's $1,500 off. All right. Why don't you get to the new stuff from Canon, because you've got the news about that.
I guess while we're talking about lenses, let's switch to the 35-1.4 VCM. And keep in mind 1.4, not 1.2, that they've been rumoring for freaking years. Well, first of all, why a 1.4 not a 1.2? I really wish we had a 1.2. I do think that extra half a stop, I don't know, it just gives it that different pop in a 35 mil. A 1.4, still great, but 1.2, I don't know, for some reason, in that wide range, really makes it look different.
They're just not going to sell a lot. That's the problem.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's a very limiting lens, and the market's not there for it. So I do get it, especially when a 35-1.2 would probably be like a $3,000 lens is my guess. But Canon is saying that this is going to be the first in a new hybrid set of fixed focal length lenses. I'm assuming like a 24-1.4 they're going to come out with, a 50-1.4, maybe an 85-1.4. They're calling them hybrid because of the aperture ring and the minimal focus breathing that they have, apparently. Now, my opinion, Canon is way behind on this. This is something Sony has been pushing for quite some time, but they're not calling them hybrid lenses. They're just calling them their G-Masters. Aperture rings, minimal focus breathing, all the video features. Now Canon is trying to do this. And keep in mind, this aperture ring only works in video mode. It will not work in photography, still photos, which I would never use it personally anyway. Now VCM, it's voice coil motor. That's their newer focusing system that it pairs with a nano USM motor in this lens. They say it has heavier elements that need more power to move, so they needed this VCM motor. VCM powers the rear element, where nano USM powers the floating elements, and they basically work in tandem. they say VCM, it also requires power to hold the elements in place. So when you do power off the lens, basically you're going to have a bunch of floating random elements in the lens. And I think I hate when lenses do that. Like when the IBIS, when the IS mechanism floats for Canon lenses, it feels like I'm like shifting and I'm going to break the lens. But they claim that it's completely normal to hear these elements shifting inside the lens. They do say with the VCM2, you get virtually silent focus. I will say a lot of the RF lenses, you can hear the focus moving if you're in video mode. So that has been an issue where something like Sony and their G Masters, complete silence. You can never hear the focus. Perfect for video work. Canon, that's still been an issue even with the RF newer lenses. And it's $1,500. So it's about the same price as Sony's GM 35-1.4. I think it's $100 more. Well, right now it's on sale, but it's normally $1,400. And it has a rear removable filter holder, which I find odd because it's only a 67 millimeter filter thread. It's a really small lens, so you can easily buy a cheap filter for it. But for some reason, they also gave you the rear filter holder as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna, as soon as there's sample units, we're gonna get one. It's so hard for me to recommend, being that I love the 28-70 f2 so much, and just like that Sigma zoom lens, it's the versatility. And yeah, there's a trade-off. It may not be a 1.4, but you have the versatility, and that's where that 28-70 comes in handy. And it's on sale at like $2,700 now. So it's like, I don't know. That's a 28, a 35, a 50, a 75, which is almost 85. It's just so amazing that lens is amazing. Canon also says that they're going to have a line of these lenses.
Yeah, I'm curious with this new hybrid set what it's going to bring. If they're going to be more affordable than their typical 1.2 lenses. Again, I think they're behind personally on these types of lenses because Sony's been doing it for quite some time, and Sigma at this point.
Yeah, but they're also ahead at the 1.2 lenses. 85 1.2, 50 1.2, 135 1.8, like 10 to 20. They're just so good.
The aperture ring is what throws me off. I personally never ever use an aperture ring for exposure or to pull the iris or any of that. I don't know. That's just not what I do personally with video work.
I agree.
I get it. I get why certain people use it, but I feel like it's a very small niche of people that actually use the aperture ring, besides maybe pulling exposure. But ND all day over this. If I forgot an ND, that's great, but I really would never use an aperture ring.
No. All right, hit us with the C400 stuff, because this is actually a pretty interesting camera.
It's the first full-frame cinema camera from Canon with an RF mount. I think it's the same sensor as the R3. We were talking about this yesterday, and I was comparing the specs, and it looks like it really is pretty much spec for spec the same exact sensor.
Yeah, they don't tell you that it's 24 megapixels or anything.
Well, they say the effective megapixels, which is like 19, but I looked up the tech spec sheet, and it's the approximate same total megapixels. So not the effective, but the total is 26.7. And that's the same as the R3. It is a standard full frame 3:2 aspect ratio sensor. I think it's just they're repurposing the R3, which is great. I mean, it's still a very fast stacked sensor, great for video work. Now, it's not a DGO sensor. It's not a dual gain output sensor, which the C300 Mark III had. That was better dynamic range in sensors like that. It's not to be confused with dual native ISOs.
What about triple base ISO that this has?
Yeah, so that leads me to believe that the R3 has natively a triple base ISO. They just don't report it. I guarantee if you take an image at 12,800 in log video and then compare that to 10,000 ISO, your 12,800 probably looks cleaner on the R3.
I wish I knew that when I was filming those bowling clips in low light.
Yeah, but if you're not shooting log, if you're shooting regular Rec 709, it's 400, 1600, and 6400. In a triple base ISO for log, it's 832 and 12,800.
Interesting. What I find interesting about the camera is the price.
$8,000. And the C300 Mark III was $11,000 when it got announced. So this is significantly cheaper, I'm assuming, because there's a lot more competition with something like the FX6, FX9, a lot more from the Sony front, Panasonic.
Is this still overkill for us?
Yes, I think it is personally.
It's just too big.
I'll use an R3. It's the same sensor.
The difference is the overheating will happen in the R3. I ran into overheating with...
you also were shooting 4K 120 like nonstop.
That's correct. When I was in 4K 120, it overheated. When I was in regular 4K 24, I did. I could film for an hour plus.
But this now has dual pixel AF2. A lot of the cinema cameras, they still had the original dual pixel, so really just face and eye detection, not like the subject detection like people, animals, stuff like that.
Yeah.
There is a new PL to RF mount adapter, which is nice, so you can mount both EF lenses as well as PL lenses, so it's just like your C300s. It is smaller and lighter, too, than the C300 Mark II, significantly, actually.
Yep.
I think it's like half a pound lighter and much smaller.
I don't know. These cameras just seem like overkill for so many people.
Yeah.
But would be good run and gun for TV shows, I guess.
Why they're cinema cameras. These are not meant for people like us on, doing YouTube videos. It's, 6K,
True.
60p, Cinema Light RAW. I would never be shooting that for YouTube personally. It does Super 35, Super 16 modes. It has 6K oversampling in most of the 4K modes. 4K 120, 2K 180. I think there's crops in both of those, though. They have the same 10-stop mechanical NDs as the C300, CF Express, and SD card slot. I mean, it's all the updates that you would expect coming from a C300 Mark III with all the latest tech, like the digital hot shoe, which I thought that was pretty interesting because you can still use a top handle, put it in the hot shoe, and then the top handle itself also has a digital hot shoe, so the power will transfer over to the top handle's digital hot shoe, so you could still use it. A big update for the cinema line. So now you have your C70, your C400, and your R5C that have the RF mount and dual pixel AF2. I don't think the R5C actually has dual pixel AF2. I think it's still limited to the original dual pixel.
Yeah, I don't recall because we never really used that camera.
Well, the issue was in stills mode, I believe you could do dual pixel AF2, but in the cinema mode, the video mode, it switched to the cinema menu, which had all the old stuff, the old tech.
Got it. Let's move on. I saw a comment left on the latest Photo News Fix that said, you missed GH7, or it's not photo news like Canon C400, ?
They're not wrong about that, but keep in mind that Photo News Fix came out before the announcement publicly for the GH7. Also, we were not briefed on the GH7.
Correct. I didn't even get a press release still.
We got nothing. We get nothing from Panasonic.
I don't have a press release from Panasonic to even know that it was coming.
We would have mentioned it in the news if we did, yeah.
It will go in next week, but you also have to understand, I recorded on Monday and Tuesday. I wrote the thing Monday, I recorded it Tuesday morning. We had a briefing for the Canon stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't even know about a GH7. So please, if you're going to make a comment, like at least use your brain to think that, well, maybe they didn't know about it. We didn't just ignore it. Well, especially when ours came out first.
It's my favorite when we put out a fix and maybe like an hour or two before we put it out, something gets announced and they're like, why didn't you talk about this? It's like, clearly, guys, we filmed this a day or two ago, not an hour ago. You think it takes an hour to edit a Photo News Fix? To film, edit, produce everything?
I think people think that.
I think they do too. And we are very fast, I will say. Like a 2-day turnaround for fixes. It has to be obviously quick because it's all newsworthy and time sensitive.
So I don't have much to say about a GH7. The only thing I will go into is it still has that micro four thirds sensor, and the time that we had a GH5S or something in the studio, because everybody's like, this is the greatest camera ever for shooting video. We set it up on the Photo News set at the old place, and everything was in focus from front to back. And I'm like, no, this just looks garbage. This looks terrible in our situation. The depth of field sucks. The ISO sucks. It's not full frame. And I was like, we're not using it. And that was really what it came down to.
Personally, I'm Super 35 APS-C or better. I prefer shooting wide open a lot, especially when we have a limited space in our space. So... but this is really a G9 II updated for the most part. I think it's the same sensor.
It's not to say that it's not a worthy camera for someone, because you can get great results with anything.
The great thing with the GH lineup is they basically threw everything from their professional cameras at it, but they gave it a small sensor. So it's got all of your real high-end feet. Like this has 32-bit float audio, which I think is really unique and interesting. ProRes RAW. 5.7K 60p. Like there's a lot of really interesting things in this camera. It's just not for me personally.
Yeah. And not for us. And I know that there was a debate back in the day between you and another person who was like, this is the greatest camera ever.
We were on the A7 III press trip, and I basically called it a GH4 killer. I think I was having a conversation with you. He overheard me. He was sitting behind me, and he's like, "Are you serious? This is not a GH4 killer. Blah, blah, blah. Do you know what the GH4 offers?" And then the A7 III ended up being like the biggest mirrorless camera ever released. So
yeah,
there you go. I was right.
I will take full frame with a couple less features than a micro Four Thirds sensor any day of the week.
For what we do, yes.
Yeah, for what we do. So I have a couple of questions here that I've been holding on to that people have submitted. We try to do that if we've got any extra time.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit one of those questions today because I really wanted to talk about it because I know that we've all faced this as photographers. And it says, how do you avoid being asked to turn every family or friend function into an unpaid photo shoot? Weddings, graduations, etc. all have turned into bring your camera and spend the day capturing my event for free. That has happened so many times. And the one time I don't take my camera to a wedding, the wedding photographer doesn't show up. And I'm just sitting there using a...
I think we specifically told you not to bring it that day, too.
Well, yeah, Todd and you were like, oh, no, you're invited. Just show up.
You're a guest,
and then from that point on, it's like, if I take a camera to a wedding... I'm not getting in the way of the photographer. I'm not going to shoot the whole thing. I'm going to stand off or sit somewhere on the side and just take a couple of shots. I did that at Richie's wedding, his wedding, and they liked my photo of them kissing so much more than the other photographers that I gave them a big printout, a big blow up of it, and they loved it. But I also am not getting in the way.
I don't think you took it to my wedding, right?
Did I take it to your wedding?
You took the lens and let my wedding photographer use the 28-70 f2, which she proceeded to shoot at f11 half the time with it. I'll talk about that another day.
I didn't. I don't think I did.
But I don't think you did.
I did shoot. You did ask me to shoot a friend and family event. Your baby's. What do they call those things?
The baptism
at the church. The baptism. So Steven asked me. No, but the
point here is that it was a $10,000 photo shoot.
I used a $10,000 lens, didn't
you brought a 100 to 300 inside a church. I'm like,
nailed it.
You realize it's a baptism. We're going to be in a close quarter.
Steven, are you upset with the photos I got?
No, there's just the actual baptism. There's no photos of that.
Well, the lighting was bad.
Point.
The priest got in the way.
But speaking of baptisms, I've photographed basically all my nieces and nephews, and that is essentially my gift to them, is taking photos of the baptism.
Steven, do you want to know why I couldn't photograph the actual baptism part? I tried walking up closer. I got struck down by Jesus. Lightning came down from above, and they're like, you're Jewish. You're not allowed to do this. Halt. You cannot go any further. But this is a big thing because there's times where people expect you to bring your camera. And then I'm like, fuck you. Like, even if I do bring my camera or they're like, well, why didn't you bring your camera? I'm like, well, why would I? Did you bring your tool belt?
Yeah.
Like, did you bring your oil changing device? Did you bring your cutlery? Did you bring your kitchen shit to cook me food? Like, why are you expecting that just because you invite me, I'm going to, and I don't want to have this discussion. My close friends know you invite me, I'm going to choose to bring it because I feel bad for myself not taking good pictures. But my thing is, I feel like if I don't bring my camera, they will have really bad photos of cell phone photos of their event.
Yeah.
And I don't want that to happen. But that's my choice. I like to do that. But I do not want it to be an expectation of my invite that, hey, you're being invited, bring your camera so that you could do work for free.
Unfortunately, I think it has gotten to that point with my family that it is basically expected. I usually don't get asked until the day before now, like, hey, just a reminder, can you bring your camera? I'm like, there was no initial thing said. Like, this is not a reminder. This is you telling me for the first time. I just now bring it no matter what. Like, I did my nieces and nephews' first communion a few weeks ago, and it was fine. Like you said, like they would have gotten no photos or shitty photos. So I'm like, you know what? This is my gift. I also gave money as well at that point, but to take a couple pictures here and there, it's not the end of the world when it comes to close family for me, immediate family.
Yeah.
But when it comes to friends outside of that, that's when it starts to get a little hairy. Like that one time when I was asked to take engagement photos and I showed up and they were having a wedding in the backyard and they asked me to be the wedding photographer that day. And how do you say no at that point?
Did they give you money?
They did eventually give me a couple $100 after, but they wanted like a photo book and all this stuff. I'm like, guys, you didn't pay me. Like, I wasn't even supposed to be there doing this. Thankfully, I brought all of my lenses. I brought all my gear just in case. I show up and I'm like, hey, let's go take a couple photos. And this is what they said. They're like, just take a few photos of us. We're going to put them on a save the date and then send them out for the wedding. And that's all we need. Just bring like a lens or two and that's it. Like we just need like one photo. And I'm like, all right, cool. I show up with swim trunks on, my flip-flops, because it was supposed to be like a backyard like celebration of their engagement, an engagement party. And that's when he's like, hey, in 5 minutes, we're actually going to get married. And we're doing a surprise wedding, and you're going to be the photographer. And I'm like, what?
Hey, congratulations. You're the surprise photographer that we didn't offer any money to.
What pissed me off is that half of the other people knew that were like supposedly working that wedding. They knew that they were getting married. I didn't. And if they expected me to be the photographer, I just wish I had a heads up. So I could have worn the correct attire. I could have been prepared mentally. Thankfully, the pictures came out fine, but it was super harsh light. It was like noon in the summertime in mid-July. It was rough, but I still pulled it off. I just, like, there was another photographer there that he was doing more the formal photos, and he knew about it. That was another friend of theirs. And by the way, I ended up pretty much doing all of the photos after the fact because he wasn't that great.
No, that happens. And so it's like, where's, if they're not really, I mean, they might be your friends, but maybe they're not your close friends. If they're getting upset that you didn't bring your camera, it's not really a discussion to be had because it's just going to piss people off. So I choose to give the gift of photography. That's my choice. And if I choose to, I just feel naked without my camera. If I'm going, like I went to a first birthday party last year. They invited me. They didn't say one thing about bringing a camera. Mm-hmm. They didn't say, please bring your camera. They didn't say anything. But they also didn't have anybody taking photos. I took a 28-70 on the R3. There's a bunch of 1, 2, 3, 4-year-olds running around, 5-year-olds, perfect for photos. Yeah. I took photos of the birthday girl. I took photos of her little brother who's like 3. I got awesome shots that I'm really happy with. I find that keeps me engaged in an event, in a party, because if not, I'm just going to sit around being like, is it time to go yet? Like,
this food sucks.
No, actually, they had really good food, and they had a Chick-fil-A tray, too.
There you go. You know, the Chick-fil-A was probably for kids, but...
Oh, okay.
Usually, was it like Chick-fil-A nuggets?
Yeah, they were so good.
Yeah, they're usually for the children.
No, they had plenty. I asked first. And then they had a bunch of cupcakes. And I just went around and did photos. That's how I enjoy my time. Yeah. I don't enjoy spending time with people. So
that is true.
I enjoy being focused on taking photos. That keeps my brain in check. And I don't feel like I want to go.
But back to his original question of...
how do you avoid?
Yeah. I mean, I think you just have to say no.
You need to have better friends, dude. No,
I think you have to explain to them that this is my profession. You know, this is not me just taking a couple snapshots throughout the day. Like, I will have to go home and do a lot of work. Yeah.
Now, if someone confronts you and is like, well, why didn't you bring your camera? You have to decide on how far do you want to take it.
Yeah.
Are they really close friends? And if they're really close friends, they would respect what you do. And maybe you put your foot down right then and there and say, look, you invited me as your friend. I'm here to enjoy this event. You didn't ask me to bring my camera. You shouldn't expect me to bring my camera. That's like me asking you to bring your surgical tools to my house to, neuter my cat, right? I'm not going to ask you to do that. Or if I wanted, I'm going to ask you to do that. I'm not going to expect you to show up. Like, hey, I invited you to my house. Hey, the garage is over there. My car needs to be. Can you change my tires? Can you do that? You brought all your stuff, right? It's just like, or you're a chef. Yeah. I have all the food in the kitchen. You're going to cook it, right? And it's just like that. You put it into perspective for people, and maybe they respect it, and maybe you'll never hear from them again.
For me, it's immediate family. I will usually do them a favor and take photos, especially because it is my immediate family and I am kind of the family photographer at this point. But friends, I'm usually turning down unless it's planned well in advance and there is some compensation usually. I've only done a few shoots for free with friends. Let's just say that. Yeah. And close friends.
So that's that. We'll hold the next question. We get these questions from time to time, and they come into the text line, which is 267, whatever the fucking, that's the old number. 267.
313.
719?
Jesus.
313.
710-9729.
Yeah, that's our text line. Yeah, I remembered that.
We got a lot of texting lately, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I have to go back and look at them because I I do go back and look, and we do correspond with some people. One guy, I sent a message yesterday about the boot camp, and it was just like, they sent back a really dumb reply.
I saw.
And I replied, I was like, well, what do you mean? He's like, you're real? I thought this was just a newsletter. I'm like, no. The newsletter is the newsletter. This is the text line.
It's my favorite when people put like stop, like they think they're like an automated message, like stop, don't send. And I'm just like, no. Because it's not an automated reply.
No. Yeah, I'm like, I will not stop.
I will not.
I can't stop.
I'm AI.
I won't stop.
I will never be stopped.
You
Judgment
can't do
Day
this.
is coming soon.
Yeah. So that's what we have to say, guys, about this episode. If you do want one of my boot camp tickets, there's one available, and I should probably get to work on figuring out what I'm going to do that day.
By the way, in the RAWtalk notes, I'm reading them now. I like that you called it book camp instead of boot camp.
No. It says boot camp.
It says book camp.
It says book camp. We're going to be reading the Bible, everybody. You surprise. Surprise! Book. Well, that's because my eye is blurry right now. That's not good. So I misread everything.
I've just learned to try and that you usually misspell things, and I'm trying to decipher them.
Your favorite is when I write it wrong in a script, but correct myself while I'm doing it and say it right because I knew what I was trying to say. All right, let's wrap this up. This is 105. Next week should be in Boston, shipping out to Boston to do it, and that's it. Anything else you want to say, Steven?
That is it.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Jared Polin, photoshoot.com. See ya.
Bye.